Hey everybody, I'm Brandon72Mo. This is the Karin Kuruma, and I'm about to find out if it'll off-road. This is the second most voted for vehicle this week, and you can vote for the vehicles that you want to see in Will It Off-Road by clicking on the link in the description down below. So, the Karin Kuruma, an all-wheel drive, turbocharged four-banger, a lightweight car with a high-revving engine. And this is the unarmored version, so not a lot of armor to make it roly-poly. One of the things that you do have to be careful with the Kuruma, whether on-road or off, is bumps and jumps. Because it's so lightweight, it likes to get air. A lot of people ask me why I slow down right here. Quite often, that's because, well, I tell you what, go drive that section at full throttle and you'll find out why I slow down right there. There's actually a bit of a dip in the road, and it turns into a jump and sends you flying down into that washout. And that's things you have to be, those type of things you have to be conscious of the entire time that you're off-roading in the Kuruma. However, with all that said, I am going to push this thing very, very, very hard because I know it's a very competent off-roader. It's not the best at rock crawling and that sort of thing, obviously. I mean, it's a little sports car, so it can't get up and over the rocks. But it is all-wheel drive, and from what I remember, it's a pretty well-balanced all-wheel drive, meaning the power is split fairly evenly between the front and rear wheels. It also has really good traction, so you're not going to just wind up spinning. I can talk. You're not going to wind up spinning all four wheels. You're actually going to be able to put that power down to the ground and get going. Of course, since it is really small, it can navigate through the twisty bits real easy. If you get on the throttle at just the right time, you can kind of blip it, get the back end to get a little wiggly on you, and spin it right around a corner without any effort whatsoever. Honestly, it's a great little car to drive, and I don't see a lot of players who actually own just the regular Kuruma. I mean, we all know that one guy who rides around in his armored Kuruma constantly trying to run people over and all of that. And I love to blow those armored Kurumas right off the street. That's what my rocket launcher was made for. But the non-armored version is a slightly faster car. Both of the Kurumas, in the handling files, there's a feature that talks about how much a vehicle loses speed in the dirt. And if I remember right, neither one of the Kurumas lose any speed at all. So they have the exact same acceleration and top speed in the dirt as they do on asphalt, which makes them really good off-roaders. As we come up the final hill climb, Kuruma's not struggling at all. Up and over the rocks. Oh, that got us a little sideways, but we're up in 2 minutes, 54 seconds. So will the Kuruma off-road? Yeah, of course it will. It's a nice little all-wheel drive sedan, even though it's in the sports category. But that means we now have to test it going back down, and this is where the lightweight of the vehicle will become even more of an issue as it tries to go over the different bumps and jumps. There's going to be several instances where you're going to see the Kuruma want to get airborne. The nice thing about the Kuruma is that as long as you don't go flying too high, you can get pretty good control back over the car in a relatively simple manner. See there, it kind of landed sideways, which caused on the bounce the back end to want to start to slide around on me. With the Kuruma, you have two choices. You can either give it a little bit of extra throttle and have the front wheels help pull you out of that, or you can just kind of let off a little bit but don't hit the brakes and correct that way. It's a pretty forgiving little car. But as you can tell, it definitely wants to get airborne over the smallest little bumps. It's just like, let me go, let me go, let me go. It wants to fly. Unless it's hard, it thinks it's an airplane. Over these big jumps, it's kind of front heavy. I am actually trying to pull back and keep it as flat as possible. No matter what I did, it still dipped way forward on all of the bigger jumps. So not as easy to control in the longer jumps, but it doesn't do bad. Oh, as we take down a hiker, I heard those bones crunch. Gonna try to put on a little bit of extra speed through this section. A lot of vehicles get tripped up here, but the Kuruma does have excellent brakes. And with those brakes, the tires love to grip. So I'm gonna just carry more speed than I normally would in a lot of vehicles. And of course the Kuruma, no problem with it whatsoever. This has been, other than the front end wanting to dip down, this is effortless. This is just a casual afternoon drive. Seems like the Kuruma is kind of happiest in the dirt. It's kind of a happy little car no matter what, which is why I painted it such a happy bright color. Going around our final bit of dirt, heading back towards the pavement. We're going to try to pick up a little bit more speed here because it also does really well on the pavement. Again, thanks to that exceptional all-wheel drive system. I love this little car. It's just a lot of fun to drive. Not the fastest sports car around, but it's a lot of fun to drive. And we're down in 2 minutes, 44 seconds as somebody honks. And that means taking it back up to the top of Mount Chilliad and seeing how it does in a damage descent. And as you can see, once again, that front end wanted to dip immediately down. And it takes a little while before I can get the spin under control. So it's not the easiest thing to control midair. Granted, it's not something that you can do in reality. But in GTA, you know, you can flip cars that are on the roof over. So obviously, not a lot of reality in that physical system. And that's the same system you use to try to control yourself in midair. If you're using a controller, you just kind of wiggle the left stick back and forth to try to get that car to go back flat. As the door just waves at us there. Kuruma's already taken a bit of a beating. Rounded off the back end, the corner there a bit. Busted out both the rear taillights and that rear window. Oh, and it looks like the driver's window. Haven't seen the front recently. Oh, there's a peek at the front. Looks like the headlights might be gone, or they might have just shut off. Ooh, this is where the slam band got stuck, but no problem. For the Kuruma, just backed up a little bit, did a nice little jump, and away it goes again. I always like it when I can nail that right through those, I still don't know what to call these little tunnels, culverts, whatever. Oh, the Kuruma's getting thrown all around. This is where its lightweight is a liability when things get really, really bumpy at speed. We're coming up out of the ravine. Another nice jump. And we're down in the minute 38 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage. We've lost most of the lights, half of the windows, the hood's gone, the left doors are misaligned. There is some moderate body denting, and the wheels, if you look closely, the front wheels are slightly, ever so slightly bent. But that brings us to our next vehicle, the Coil Brawler. And this is the first most voted for vehicle this week. First most voted for. Good English, Brandon. If you want to see a specific vehicle and you don't see it in the list of voting as hikers cross across the highway and cause lots of angry drivers, there's a write-in option at the very bottom of the Will It Off-Road voting form, so you can write in any vehicle that you want. I must say a huge thank you to my friend Commander Hobo. This is his Coil Brawler. I do not own one any longer. I got rid of mine sometime earlier this year. I don't really remember when. I needed space in a garage for DLC vehicles, and I didn't drive the Brawler as much as I used to, so it hit the auction block, which means I sold it in Los Angeles Customs. There's a couple of unique characteristics about the Coil Brawler. The first is it's top heavy. So you have to be mindful of that and make your turning and your corner navigation a lot smoother and less jerky than you would in a lot of other cars. If you're not smooth in turning, you do risk rolling this thing right over. The second thing is, even though it is all-wheel drive, it is mostly rear biased. The only way to really get the front wheels to spin is if you flip it over on its back and then hit the gas. They do provide a little bit of help, as you'll see once we get up to the final rock crawl up the backside of the mountain. But for the most part, this is a rear-wheel drive vehicle. So it's kind of a weird all-wheel drive layout in that there's not a lot of power going to those front wheels. The third thing, and it's something that will come into play not so much on the ascent, but definitely on the descent, is its brakes kind of suck. I mean, of all the cars in GTA, the Brawler just has weird brakes. If you just slam on the brakes, they lock up, which leaves you one of two choices. You can either kind of just give them a half pressure if you're playing with a controller, or if you're playing with a keyboard and mouse, or it's still with a controller, you can quickly tap them on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. Either way, you want to prevent them from locking up, and they seem to actually have more braking power that way. Ooh, hiker down. Ouch, another one. And there is one other thing I have to say about this specific Brawler. Typically, every vehicle that I take up Mount Chilliad that's a personal vehicle has all performance upgrades. Commander doesn't put turbos on all of his vehicles because he doesn't like the turbocharged sound to be on some cars. I totally understand that. So this does not have a turbo. There is a chance that a Brawler with the turbo might see a slightly better time, though I doubt that turbo is really going to make a huge difference. Up and over that final rock, and we're up in 2 minutes, 55 seconds. So will the Brawler off-road? Yep, sure will. That's what it's made for. I mean, look at the damn thing. Though it did get quite dirty doing it. I like those wheels Commander has on this. Now we have to take it back down, and this is where the braking situation could come to bite us in our tushies. Now, I said tushies, deal with it. The nice thing is, if you're not going too fast, you don't have to worry about the brakes, because they're not going to lock up on you. But this thing is pretty heavy, and as you can see already, even with me not on the throttle at all, it just wants to go soaring down this path. And I am fighting this. I'm making it look a lot easier than it really is, but I was fighting this car constantly because those brakes wanted to lock up. I wasn't able to give them quite enough pressure to slow me down as much as I wanted, and it was just a battle through there. So you do have to be careful when you off-road with the Brawler, especially if you come up and over a peak and find that you had too much speed. You hit the brakes and it locks up and you just go flying anyway. But on these jumps, nice and flat with not a lot of drama on the landing except for me, smacking it into the side of a wall. The Brawler does occasionally just have some weird reaction to uneven pavement when you're turning. I keep calling it pavement. Uneven terrain when you're turning. Sometimes it'll kick a wheel up and start spinning around. Other times when you're turning in on uneven terrain, it just won't turn. So it's rare for both instances, but it does happen. And it's something you need to be prepared for to make sure that it doesn't send you going in a direction you don't want to go. And of course, something I did not know about the Brawler until this testing. I don't know how loud it is in the video, but when it's under what would normally be engine braking in a real life car, the Brawler makes a really weird noise. Almost sounds like an electric motor. It's really strange. And we're coming back down to our final bit here. Coming around this final corner. And there we go. That's what I was talking about. Sometimes if you're turning in the Brawler and you hit something uneven, it will just behave in a really erratic way. And it can be kind of unpredictable in when it's going to do it. That's one of the reasons, frankly, I really didn't drive it that much. because it's made for off-roading, but sometimes it can be a bit of a pain in the ass. But we're back on pavement, bringing it around. Don't want to get too much speed because, again, I won't be able to stop and I'll go flying out into the highway. But we're down in 2 minutes, 52 seconds. That means taking it back up to the top of Mount Chilliad for a damaged descent and a lovely, lovely evening. The Brawler already, look at that. Yeah, the Brawler is already much easier to control midair than the Kuruma was. Granted, people wouldn't really call this control, I bet, but, oh, as Commander explodes in a fiery death. I don't know what car he was in this time that caused him to do that. It had to have been stolen because I don't have a personal vehicle out and I'm in his personal vehicle. Oh, we lost the door. But anyways, this is much easier to control than the Kuruma was when you are flying through the air. Which I guess is kind of nice since the brakes suck and it does have a tendency to roll over. At least you can correct it once you go flying towards your doom. Yeah, maybe. The nice thing is, for the most part, it does really well on this really rough terrain. Like I said, it does tend to want to kick around or sometimes not turn in, but, and there's its high-centered nature coming through as we high-five the tree with our roof. And once again, didn't want to stay on its wheels. It just wants to be upside down today. It's like, look at my undercarriage, you naughty car. I thought I heard for a second just a brief engine rattle, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be doing it now, so maybe I was just hearing things. But we're coming up over the final climb, and we are down in 1 minute, 42 seconds. Let's take a look at the damage after that weird edit I just had there. We have one headlight out, one window out, the left door's missing, and the hood and trunk are misaligned. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit that like button, get subscribed if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below. I'm Brandon72Mo, and I'll see you in the next video.